Okay guys, so since we're gonna have a little bit of drive time before we get to the spot that we can get a couple of rips in here in Velocito, details on the truck, tuned by me, 355 gears, she's a DT Ram, and that's kind of it. Not a whole lot of anything done to this truck, no suspension mods or anything like that. We're running on the Falcon, whichever the all-terrain tires come on the built-to-serve trucks. So it's not like we're running super sticky rubber. It's not like we're trying to get away with anything. Matter of fact, I'm going to have to be kind of easy with how I tip into the throttle. But consistency is really the key. Again, we're trying to get data. Yeah, there's going to be a little wiggle room here or there. I think the trend is to look for any improvement with the cold air, if you will. It's kind of hard to call it that though, because it's just a tube. But with the tube and the filter, you're hoping to see things trend a little bit in the it's going quicker direction. But realistically, I really don't know that there's going to be a lot to write home about, really, with any of the cold air kits for these trucks. Now, I have heard some anecdotal things about some kits picking up power here or there, but in looking at the airbox and in looking at some of the kits themselves, I don't know that I can really get on board with some of the claims that have been made. But again, you don't know until you try. Some of this stuff could be legit, and you know, it's kind of my job to test it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do just that. We're going to give her a test and see how it goes. So let's go ahead and get to a spot where we can do a bit of a high load condition rip with her. Try to do this in the exact same spot for every one of these passes. And here we go. Data looks good. Can't say that the truck did poorly considering the heat. Went a 1455. We'll try that again and see how she does. We're going to give her 2 hits with everything that we do. So the first hit of 1455. Let's see. I'm going to need these for just a second. Yeah, 1455. So you know, I can't really expect too much with it being 90 degrees outside. So we're going to make one more hit. I was easy on the throttle. I think I could have hit the throttle a little bit harder on that launch too. Keep in mind, in really good air, this truck will run 13s. So, and I mean pretty deep into the 13s as well. So considering that it's hot and humid, I think she's running pretty good. But let's get ready for that next hit. All right, guys, so while we're heading back after that first rip, the data looks beautiful. So nothing to be worried about, concerned with, or nothing. Data set looks absolutely perfect. So we know we've got a happy truck. Let's see how she does on this next hit. And yeah, this is kind of the fun part of the gig too. Okay, guys, coming up on round 2 with the stock tube, stock filters, all filters. All right, we are logging. Here we go. I was able to roll into the throttle a little bit earlier. Ran a 1452. So I think we've got a pretty decent data set. By the way, we're coming up on, it's slightly uphill. Not that that matters, but I just want to kind of let every data point be recognized. Slightly uphill, which may allow me to maybe roll into the throttle a little bit harder. I was not able to flat foot it, but I can just kind of roll into the throttle relatively quickly. These Falcon all-terrain tires having no problem hooking up, especially when it's 90 degrees outside. So let's take a look at that again. Stop the data set. Make sure data looks good. So we have a consistent result, A-B comparison. Again, 90 degrees, humid, hot, worst case scenario for trying to get a number out of this thing. But we're going to work with what we've got, right? Let's pull up over here, take a look at the data, make sure that there's nothing kind of funky going on with this stuff. Which I doubt that there will be. It's a pretty safe tune on this truck, too. Yeah, no knock retard, no nothing. She is a very happy Hemi. So with that, we're going to get back to the shop and throw that Airaid tube on the truck, bring her back out, and see what kind of a result we can get. With just the tube, no change of the main filter or that pre-filter thing, whatever it is, that comes in the stock box on these DT Rams. Oh, one other thing, guys. On those two runs, 0 to 60 was, in essence, 6.35 and 6.36. So it was basically identical. So there's that, just in case you were wondering. Okay, guys, so here are the two, in essence, side by side. You can see how the DT Ram just kind of comes out and just sits right down on top of that throttle body, where the Airaid has that upswept turn and then faces down onto the throttle body, which is very much in line with how the DS Rams are. The Classics have a very similar intake track layout, where it sweeps up and has quite a pretty pronounced downshot into the throttle body, moving into that stock airbox. All right, just like that, there she is, guys, all installed. No issue at all with that e-torque system. Everything fits fine. One slight complaint, the hardware was just a little bit too small. Before I could even start this video, I had to go get some more band clamps and marry a couple of them together. So, just so you know. All right, guys. So we're heading off to see how she does with this tube. Now, I don't really expect too much out of it, if I'm being perfectly honest. But you never know. And besides, I did want to try to give this truck every advantage that I could, if that's really the right way to put it. But using the stock airbox, mainly because, well, it's less expensive. Well, if that kit wasn't discontinued, I suppose you could make a case that it would be less expensive. But the main question was, is the tube itself the restriction? I think a lot of guys were looking at it, Airaid at the time was for sure, and were thinking to themselves, well, you know what? We got a big old airbox. This tube looks kind of weird. Maybe there's something to that DS Ram tube. Because one of the weird things about DS Ram trucks is that they always seem, I don't know, they always seem like they run really well up against DT Rams, when DT Rams are technically lighter. They've got a bit more of an aggressive gear ratio in the first couple of gears in the transmission. So, but yet still, the DS, especially to me, it just always seems to run a little bit more punchy. So we're going to give this a go. We are data logging, as always. But getting back to it, so this is test number 2, which is going to have the Airaid tube with the stock filter and the pre-filter. And by the way, this truck has 16,485 miles on it. all basically highway stuff. I don't use this truck very often for commuting. And when it is being run, it's practically always on the freeway. So they're kind of easy miles, except for some of the data logging that we've done. Also, for you guys that have asked, which oil do I use? Well, I've been using Mopar 020 or 520, whatever they're putting in this thing. Full synthetic 0 or 520. It's going to have about the same performance, viscosity index, things like that. So just the high quality stuff, and I change it right at 5,000 to 6,000 miles. Now, as far as how does the truck feel with the tube, partial throttle stuff, it doesn't feel bad. I'm not noticing anything that would, you know, instigate a wow factor, if that makes any sense. But I also haven't had a chance to really play with it too much. I mean, you guys literally hopped in the truck with me, and, well, you know what I've been up to this entire time. So. But with that being said, let's get to the spot, give her a rip, see if there's anything to the tube itself. Okay, coming up on test number 1 of round 2. Got all of our contraptions with us. Let's see how she does. There's that hit. Let's see how she did. Stop the data stream. Not for nothing, but she's half a tenth quicker, 1450. Temperature's no different than what it was. And again, we're doing all of this in real time. Let's see. 0 to 60, 6.34. Now remember, we went back to back, 6.54, 6.55, 0 to 60, 6.34. We're going to have to back that up. Next comes the filter. That's starting to look kind of like a result. By the way, on that hit, I'm still not stabbing the throttle. I'm rolling into the throttle. So, no difference in driving technique. She's showing a quicker ET, guys. Let's give her a go. Test 2, round 2. Coming right up. All right, so data log is data logging. Go ahead and reset our contraption down here. Head back to the exact same spot. I want to make sure this data is exact as I can get it. On the same day, everything. And remember, we do all of this in real time, no editing, other than just hitting pause. So everything looks good. Here we go. Felt strong. These tires are really good. These Falcon all-terrains are nice. Very consistent. 1450, 0 to 60, 6.34. So she's legit half a tenth quicker. And to give you an idea, guys, that's not an insignificant number. You might hear half a tenth and go, oh, it's only half a tenth. Well, remember that a lot of that is coming up, that a lot of that gain is in that 0 to 60 time, where we picked up actually a nice little chunk on the 0 to 60. So I've got to say, this is a pretty repeatable result, if you will. I mean, I know we're only a couple of tests deep, but go ahead and stop the data log right there. But the thing is that, I mean, we're getting some kind of a result, if nothing else, and to be consistently half a tenth. To give you an idea what a half a tenth looks like, in the quarter mile, that's about half a truck length in this case. So not bad. Not bad at all when you consider that a full tenth at these ETs would be about a full truck. So not too shabby. So let's do this. I'm going to take a look at the data real quick. I'll spare you guys that boredom, but if I had to guess, I'd say everything looks really good. One thing I did want to share a little bit with you guys, you know, I said earlier I didn't really notice much of a difference just in, you know, like partial throttle driving. And I have to stand by that, but I do have to say that at these heavier loads, you know, like what you would perceive, like what I'm doing right now in your mind is what you would perceive in your mind is maybe 65 to 75% throttle, that power enrichment mode that you guys have heard me talk about before with Foxy and this truck and the Hellcat and some other cars too. You're not wide open, but you're also really not in it to win it, but you're also not putting it either. A decent run up, if you will. The truck feels a little bit, maybe it's got a little bit more to it. I mean, I don't want to talk out of turn just yet, but I will say that the truck does feel good. It feels really good, as you would expect. Not a whole big, huge difference, but it does feel maybe a little bit peppier. Anyway, let's get to putting that filter in, and we'll give it some more tests. Oh, real quick, guys, kind of a fun data set. We're talking about intake air temperatures. Ambient air temp, which is just what the outside air is, 90 degrees. Intake air temperature, 91. So that'll give you an idea. The stock air box is really no joke. The stock ram air tube and the snorkel and all of that do a really fine job in these DT Rams. So I don't know if there's an aftermarket solution that would get better than 1 degree off of ambient, but I will say that was kind of a neat data set. And it started off the pull at like 97 degrees at a full stop, as far as intake air temp, with ambient actually showing 91. And then through the pass, it just, that intake air temp just slammed shut. So yeah, 1 degree. In fact, at one point, it was identical, 91 and 91 that I'm looking at right now in terms of ambient versus intake air temperature. So yeah, I didn't really look at that on the other intake, but I can tell you that I don't see it really being that far off, because again, it's still the stock air box. We're only swapping out the tube at this point. So anyway, let's swap out that filter and get you some results with that.